And for more analysis, we are joined from Ramallah by Dr. Raed Al-Dubai, head of the Department of Political Science of Al-Najah National University. Good evening to you, Dr. Raed.
Good evening, and thank you for having.
Thank you for being with us. And Dr. Raed, from your perspective, how has the unwavering U.S. support for Israel impacted the Palestinian cause over the years?
Well, from the beginning, let me start from what did you say about the complicity between Netanyahu and Obama. There is a fact that the biggest support for Israel has been initiated by America during Obama's time. And this continuing relation, which not start, by the way, on 1948, because Israel and America sharing the same roots, which is meaning both have been founded by killing and by genocidal policies against the landowners. And this religious background came from the very first step of the new settlers whom invaded the landowners and the Americans when they committed genocide. Used literally the Old Testament during that time. They called themselves the chosen people of God, and they called those who called them Red Indians the New Canaanite. Even they called Washington during this time the New Jerusalem of God. So this ideological background and this ideological relation between America and Israel, back to decades and back to centuries, not to 1948. And we all know that by de facto, America was the very first country to recognize Israel as a state. So this ideological, economic, which has been strengthened because of the Zionist groups and lobbies inside America, never stopped. And it seems that unlikely this one-sided policies and this biased policies by Republicans and Democratic administration will continue in the history today and in the future.
Right. Mr. Raed, can you elaborate on the specific ways that U.S. financial and military aid has bolstered Israel's control over Palestinian territories?
Not just Palestinian territories, but even now there is a very common policy by all the American administrations since 1948 to keep the sovereignty of Israel on the whole region and Middle East. What we seen from 1940, the unlimited American support to Israel during their aggression against Egypt in 1956, in 1967, and we seen it super clearly during the war of 1973. We seen it during the aggression against Lebanon on 1982, and this unlimited support, political, economic, military support to Israel against the Palestinian people and against the American project. But because it's super important to mention that the recognition of 242 and the 338 UN Security Council resolution were never been a Palestinian or Arab demand. It was all the time an American demand from PLO to be accepted as a legitimate player in the peace process. When Palestinians accepted the two-state solution and the international legitimacy, and when they were even unrealistically realistic, the American administration decided to take the side of the right-wing governments in Israel, not just Smotrich, Ben-Gvir, Netanyahu, but even the during Sharon and during Menachem Begin, and from the beginning of this conflict, America always takes position, economic, and many other internal reasons inside America. Unfortunately, as the different American presidents said, there is a Israeli lobby inside US, but they never seen an Arab or Palestinian lobby who could affect or make a difference inside the American community.
In your opinion, what motives the US has to continue offering such strong political backing to Israel despite the international criticism?
And it's very clear that what we have seen during the genocidal policies of the current right-wing religious government in Israel shows very clearly that Netanyahu and Biden crossed in many policies. It was very clear the disagreement between the two sides. But unfortunately, in spite all of this crossing during the previous 2 years, Biden never been able to take one position. What we've seen is just rhetoric, words, slogans, but no zero actions. And I do believe that this government and these policies will continue, especially if Trump's come to the power in the next week. Trump was very clear. He annexed East Jerusalem. He moved the American embassy to East Jerusalem. And it is very clear because of many reasons, ideological and economic reasons, that he would be ready to annex the settlements to Israel. So know that Paris doesn't have different choices. By the way, as a Palestinians, we never been able to have the luxury to compare between good and bad. Unfortunately, we have to compare between bad and worst. And in our eyes, Trump is the worst of the worst because the 4 years we had with him were the most difficult and critical 4 years for the Palestinian. Strategically, he touched the issue of the UNRWA, the right of return for Palestinian people, the free normalization between the Arab regimes and Israel. But Kamala Harris as well doesn't have a policy based on international law and UN resolutions, but we always, as a Palestinians, in a corner that we have to choose between the bad and the worst. And for us, Kamala Harris is the bad and Trump is the worst. But it is very clear that one of the main and the constant policies for all the American administration is the sovereignty of the state of Israel on the region and protecting the Israeli genocidal policies and apartheid policies against Palestinian people.
Right, that was Dr. Raed Al-Dubai, head of the Department of Political Science at Al-Najah National University. We thank you so much for being with us and for your insights. And before we continue,